Hello! So today we're going to be making two items that take just under 3 hours to make, and I know that because I've already made them. I'm wearing one of the items already. This came from a few different places. I think it's a really fun project, especially if you are sort of newer to sewing or you've been away for a while. You're maybe nervous like I am about making things to fit. These are quite good projects for not necessarily needing to be perfect too. They're practical, but also it's not too much of a problem if they're a little bit wonky. Very happy with the way mine has been finished though, which is nice. So this morning I was having a little think about what I'm going to do today, and I really wanted to do a little bit of crafting and a little bit of sewing. I've been unwell for a while. If you've been here for a while, you'll know. So I finally have a little boost of energy, and I thought, yes, I want to do something that will inspire me, will be practical, and support one of the newer businesses in our local town too. I've spoken about it a little bit before, but the market was originally in Watford for over 150 years, and it got knocked down and it's got put behind a big block of department store that's not even open anymore. It's now a gym. And it's just hidden away. It's a wind trap. It's just not very nice. But luckily the textile man is able to release, I guess, a shop on the high street. So I wanted to just pop in and like show my support and give him a nudge into buying real wool if possible. So I purchased 2 meters of canvas. It's just a black cotton canvas. I worked with this for a quilted vest recently. I enjoyed using it. It was easy to use. It kind of stiff but drapey enough. I'm not prepared yet to risk using really fancy fabrics. I would love to make one of these in linen, having tried it, and maybe one in wool for the winter. That would be the dream. This is gorgeous for the time being. So what I wanted to do is make 2 items to wear day to day that will first of all be practical to stop me ruining my clothes. I always stain them. It's fine, you know, these things happen, but it would be cool to prevent that. And also to provide me with a few more pockets. Also very handy. I also just wanted to practice sewing a little bit. I know that, you know, I've been away from it for quite a while and my finishing is much to be... Yeah, my finishing can be improved, and I think by starting with some simpler projects that don't require, you know, perfectly fitting curves or anything difficult, just very simple way of getting back into it. So I started with, I want to call it an overdress. It's like an overdress apron, which again, super simple. It is just made out of 2 main bits of fabric. It has straps, it does have a pocket, and I've opted to use rivets down the side, but you could easily just sew this up. It wouldn't make any difference. I have to say, I'm probably not going to take this off today. It's amazing. I'm really happy. And we've not even spoken about it properly yet. But this is a really good starting project, I think. This one took a little bit more time, and I think that's just because it took a bit more thinking. This was made out of two big rectangles, which I'll do a little sketch. Divided by 2. Oh, we have a kitten. I do tend to do these videos as I go along, but one of my other missions was to see what I could do in a set amount of time, and I gave myself 3 hours. I figured I was up super early this morning. I had been out and got back in again very early after doing a little bit of email work. I thought it was a really nice way of doing it, so this might be more useful in that I already know what I've done and what I'm doing. We'll see. Feedback's always welcome. It's useful. You can see my tenting list. You don't want to read about my jammy bees and toothy bees. The pattern for this was super simple, and it's really easy to make exactly how you want it. you could add shaping, but this piece that I'm actually wearing is made out of 2 big rectangles, and the width is the largest torso measurement. I used my chest circumference. It's the biggest one, and it worked perfectly. And then the length is just however long I wanted it. So I measured from here to just above my knee. I felt like that was a good length. I thought longer would be maybe a hindrance in some way. I just thought it'd be a bit long. It's just the length of apron. But factor in measuring from wherever you want the front of the dress to sit. If you want it higher, measure higher. You might need to add some shaping around the neck if you're having a higher neckline. I wanted it quite low because I wanted to be able to see some of my items, and it is getting into summer, and I thought having a bit more space is a good idea. That's the main bulk of it. Is simply 2 rectangles. For the straps, I ended up doing about a 2-inch strip, which gave me a 1-inch strap. You could do thicker. I think any thinner might not be as useful because it's holding the weight of the whole apron, but that doesn't really matter. So I did 1 inch. I aimed for 1 inch by doing a 2-inch strip, and I just guessed. I just used what I had kind of already cut out of my fabric and just took the strip on the longest side. I have actually left the excess on the inside so that if I decide I want to adjust it, I can in the future. So that's it. That's all of the cutting that you really need to do. I also added a pocket, which I will put on here too. And I did 9 inches by 6.5 inches. That is it. You could screenshot this if it's useful, but once I had ironed my fabric and cut it out, I then went round and folded over the edges of the main rectangles, the main overdress, if you will. I folded it like 1/2 centimetre and then another 1/2 centimetre, maybe a little bit more, and ironed it. Simple as that. I trimmed off the corners so that it sat a bit nicer on the corners, there was less fabric. And then I went round and just sewed those hems on, just finished it from the outset. I thought it would make it easier, and blimey, it did. I then ended up sewing on the pocket at the point that I thought I would be most happy with it. I did it slightly off center, and it was intentional, but it doesn't look as intentional. It's not as far over as I thought, but it was kind of where I felt it would be sensible to not hinder my other pockets, if that makes sense. I'll lower you for a sec. So if you can see, it means that I've got access to all my pockets and I'm not going to be too bogged down in one place. But then I went in and folded the top edge on the pocket. I actually did all the edges, but for the sake of clarity, I folded as I did with the hems, about 1/2 centimetre over and another 1/2 centimetre, ironed it down, and then sewed along that to make the edge nice and neat. and then just folded it under just 1/2 centimetre on each edge of the rest of the pocket, placed it where I wanted it, pinned it down, sewed it on. Super simple. For the straps, I ended up taking my favourite little vest top that I've had for years and really should learn to sew it because I wear it all the time if I'm not wearing a knitted bralette, like all the time. I love the shaping on it, it's just perfect for me. And I always like it as a guide for straps. So I held it up to my back rectangle, pinned the straps roughly in the same place with a little bit of give on the bottom, and then sewed that on. Once I was happy with the straps being in place, the pockets being in place, I could have decided where I wanted to sew down to and just sewn. So you just put the pieces right side together, sew along down to where you're happy. So I would maybe do just above my natural waist. But I ended up opting for rivets, which I might go in and do this again, but hand sew them at some point. I feel like that would be really cute and a really good alternative to not having to use metal. It was a riveting process. No, yes, it was. Yeah, so you could definitely just sew this up and that wouldn't be a problem as long as you've factored in enough seam allowance and the biggest part of your torso being the biggest, and then you just slide it over your head and then you're done. I wanted to do the rivets because I wanted to have freedom to wear thicker layers in the winter, thinner layers, and also I wanted people to be able to borrow it if they wanted. I don't know, it just seems like a nice thing to do, especially if I'm playing D&D in real life. So to do the rivets, all I did was measure where I wanted them to go down to, and then got a good gauge of how many inches that was, and then just divided. And so I ended up with 8 rivets. That was it. I just made sure I evenly spaced them, and jobs are good. And I think I measured about 1/2 inch, just over 1/2 inch from the very edge of the fabric. Seems to be okay. My riveting technique still isn't nailed down, hammered in, but I'm getting there. I think first time I tried it, it was on too thick a fabric. I think on this, it could have been a thicker fabric, but it is what it is. And I just had this wax cord. I really like a wax cord, and I just thought I'd use it because I had it. If I didn't have it, I would have made a braid of wool and just used that. Once I had put the rivets in place, I tried it on and just checked how long I wanted the straps to actually be. So I put it onto my body and then sat it where I thought it would be good. pinned it, went in front of a mirror and double checked and triple checked because I was really nervous of it going wrong. I didn't want it to be too high in the back. I wanted lots of extra room. I wanted to be able to move fully, which I can. And I love these big goofy sleeves. Goofy sleeves. Floofy, really. So yeah, I just pinned it in place and then I sewed a little rectangle, trying to make it extra secure, and that's it. I thought I might put buttons on here just because it would look cute, and then it would be, you could make different buttonholes and make it adjustable, but actually I'd end up playing with it, I'd get it caught. This was simple, and it means that I can just undo this side and get it over my head. I can actually undo it and take it down and change tops, which has also been handy for showing you what it looks like, and I'll show you it all at the end. I honestly thought that would take me 3 hours. It didn't. I think I clocked the time at 2 hours, or just shy of. I made myself drink a bottle of water because I really needed it. So when I finished, I was surprised that I still had 1 hour of my allotted time, and I had loads of fabric left. This used a lot less than I thought it would. I kind of factored it using 1.5 meters worth of fabric, and it really hasn't. I've got all of this left, having made the apron too. So the apron was, again, another super simple, easy project. You don't need to worry about measurements particularly. It doesn't need to fit perfectly, and the finish doesn't have to be perfect, but I really love mine. I love the fullness. I'm super happy. So the apron itself is made out of 2 pieces of fabric. That is it. For the main bib section, I ended up doing half my waist measurement and then adding 20 inches for gathering. I wanted quite a full apron. I wanted it to be a little bit more whimsical than just a straight apron, but that would be fine too. You could do less if you don't want it to be gathered at all, or more accordingly. And then the length or depth, depending on how you're reading the rectangles, is just where you want it to sit. I think I ended up doing like 18 inches or something for mine, but again, it's just personal, however long you want it to sit. Remembering that some of the length will get lost, doing a neat hem and sitting it inside the waistband. For the tie, I cut out my fabric 4 times the thickness that I wanted it. So I wanted a 1.5 inch band. So I ended up cutting a 6-inch strip, and then I folded 1.5 inches in on itself, another 1.5 inches in on itself, and then folded it in half. And the length of it was my waist circumference multiplied by 2. I found that gives a nice amount for the bow at the back. I did mine shorter because I actually don't like a big bow, but I've suggested a longer length to allow for people that do. You can just cut it down if you opt to make it shorter. I also added 2 pockets, but I already noted down I used exactly the same measurements. I did 9 inches by 6.5 inches. It seems to be a good size. Fit lots in it without it ending up being filled too much and then adding too much weight to your pockets. Cut those pieces out, pockets if you want them. To start with, I made sure that the 3 edges of my apron, the bib part that was going to be seen, were hemmed. So I just folded 0.5 centimetre over and another 0.5 centimetre, and so all the way along the edges on this piece, along this edge, and this edge. Oh, you can have this for if you want to screenshot it. This is the pocket size that I used even on this apron. With the tie, all I did was fold 1.5 inches over, another, ironed that down, and then folded it in half again. Ironed it down, and then I marked on it so I folded the big long tie in half to get a centre mark, and I folded the front of the bib part in half to get a centre mark on that. I then measured where my waist would be from the centre, so I did 1/4 of my waist measurement, drew a line on the opposite end, 1/4 of my waist measurement, drew a line out from the centre mark, and I made sure I could see that when I was putting the fabric in. I then put the fabric inside, lining the centrepiece up with the centre mark, and lined up the edge of the fabric with my waist marks on either end, and then simply gathered as I wanted. I folded one way for one side and then the opposite way to the other side, just because that seems nice to me. You could do really measured folds if you want. I just did it by eye, and I really like how it came out. It's really full. Once that was pinned in place, I just went round the entire edge, so the end of the ties along the main tie, all the way until the other end of the tie, and I was already really happy with it. Once I was happy with the way that was sewn, I tried it on, put my hands where I wanted my pockets to be, did a little tailor's chalk mark, and then pinned them in place. It was that easy. I then just sewed around them, trimmed off the ends, and they were ready. I can't believe it took such little time, and they're pieces that I actually really want to wear. I have put them on, as you can already see, but I've gone and taken a little bit of footage of me wearing them as I was dressed already today. So I was wearing black jeans, a little bralette top, and it's actually called the Cherry by Midori Hirose, knitted in mohair, and then I went and put on a more whimsical outfit because actually it really reminded me of one of my new D&D characters, which is quite exciting for me and for those of you who do play Dungeons and Dragons or understand that funness. If not, it's totally fine. She is a barbarian druid and she loves to potter in the garden, and it just made sense to her, for her to have loads of pockets, so I just whipped up what I imagine she would wear from my wardrobe. And actually a very good garden outfit, gonna wear it more. And then I've also gone and put some lighter clothing on so you can kind of see actually how it fits and see it with other things. I think that's quite useful. To not always see something styled in black but also worn in a slightly different ways. I'm super thrilled. I really couldn't be happier with these. I thought it would be a fun project, but I didn't think I'd have this much fun today and film it and finish it all in a day. Inspiration is the best. That's it. I hope you enjoyed that. I actually hope more of you make these. If you know of any other interesting projects that are, easy enough for a beginner, feel free to share them. I think that would be nice. I'd love to see other projects and get inspired to make more. Yeah, and if you do make them, please do share. I'd love to see. I have lots of fun things. I'm quite excited at the moment. We've had a couple of really lovely trips away. Alex did a 10-kilometre organised run in Sunderland recently. And on the way up, he surprised me with a trip to the Jorvik Viking Centre, which was really cool. So I've got footage of that and a project that I'm excited to work on. I've also been out in nature, which has been really nice. It has actually got sunny. Hopefully you can see the sun. Can't believe I'm doing this, but the sun is so good. I didn't realise how much we needed it in the UK, and it feels good to have sunshine. And yeah, anyway, fun things on the horizon. This was really nice. Thank you for giving me a reason to get excited about making, because the sharing part is one of the more fun parts of it, getting to connect in the process. So yeah, I hope this was fun. So anyway, I really love you. I'm really grateful for you, and I hope to see you again very, very soon.